Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect. Bobby Kennedy type? I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because they're on our team now. Because you guys kicked out your best people. It's like the people that were into. This is a great point, though, Governor. Is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get him out. He's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, who was anti-war. Get her out. She's a Russian agent. Yeah. You guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other. And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote, because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
California Governor Gavin Newsom gets destroyed by his own party after changing his mind on trans rights. President Trump honors an athlete who's had to fight against these unfair sports policies. And Stacey Abrams admits to buying votes with taxpayer money that came from the Biden administration. Now, guys, if you guys appreciate the updates, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We have a great episode for you guys today, so let's go ahead and get right down to it. And let's look at how Governor Gavin Newsom is doing right now. He may be feeling a little bit of regret having Charlie Kirk on his podcast. Now, you guys may already be aware, but Gavin Newsom, he changed his mind when it comes to men participating in women's sports. So here's Gavin Newsom admitting that men have a clear advantage over women when it comes to sports, and that it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize.
Weaponize may be pejorative. You're right, but you were able to
shine a light on,
highlight it in a way that, frankly, there are not that many. We're talking about, I think, the NC2A, 510,000? No, but I just didn't realize.
It's 890 medals and trophies that we know of in the last 5 years. That's a lot.
No, so let me step back, say completely fair on the issue of fairness. I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed on the issue?
Is the Democratic Party collapsing because they keep kicking out their best people, or is this just another example of some liberal hypocrisy? Type Dem meltdown if you guys think that they're destroying themselves from within, or liberal hypocrisy if you believe that they only care when it affects them. So Gavin Newsom is getting crushed by his own party after saying this, because we got to admit that there's a lot of woke Democrats who favor having men in women's sports. I don't get it. One name went through my X feed, and her name was Emma Vigeland. So Vigeland's a pro-trans, far-left Democrat who posted this on her X account. She's laughing at Peyton McNabb getting injured by a man in a women's volleyball game. Now, this is what we're dealing with here, guys. Now, if Peyton's name sounds familiar, it's because President Trump honored her in his recent address to Congress. Watch.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding.
Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. Now, I got to remind you guys that Peyton wasn't someone that you would call a hardline Republican or anything like that. She didn't want to become a symbol for conservatives in the fight to remove men from women's sports. She was just a girl who wanted to play volleyball. And yet you got far left individuals who are laughing at her pain, which explains why Democrats are in such bad shape right now, because even their own leaders are rallying against the idea of Gavin Newsom.
First, what did you think about Newsom sitting down with Charlie Kirk? But more importantly, do you agree with those in your party who say it is time for Democrats to have a different approach to transgender issues?
Well, first of all, I agree that we should be broadening our reach and talking to people we haven't been talking to. I'm not sure that I would start with Charlie Kirk. But I also think, as I was mentioning earlier, that we need to keep the focus on what matters most to the American people, and that is the economy. We need to be talking to people about how we're going to improve their quality of life, how we can make sure that if they're working hard, they're earning a good living. To the degree that we get away from focusing on those things, I think it's a mistake. In terms of the particular issue that the governor was talking about, look, I played in sports, our kids played in sports. I want all young people to have the experience of playing in sports, every young person, and I want those sports to be fair, I want those sports to be safe, and I have confidence that local schools and local communities can make those decisions without the federal government making them for them.
But is he right on that? Is he right on that?
I think to the degree, though, I think as a political matter, that we remove the focus from where most Americans are concerned, and that is they're concerned about their ability to provide for their family. I think to the degree that we get away from that, that's a mistake.
They're obviously sticking to their talking points here, aren't they? And it's pretty clear that Adam Schiff will continue to criticize Gavin Newsom for these comments. But it's not just Adam Schiff who's giving Gavin Newsom a hard time for changing his mind. Representative Ro Khanna of California also questioned Gavin Newsom and his new take on trans policies. Watch.
This week, your governor there in California, Gavin Newsom, he's got a new podcast, in case you haven't heard. He said he thinks it's, quote, deeply unfair to allow transgender athletes to play in female college and youth sports. Rachel Badover, Politico, writes this, quote, why the hell has it taken this long for a high-profile Democrat to say what most people in the country are thinking? She goes on to note, a January New York Times Ipsos poll found 79% of the public believe trans athletes should not play in women's sports, including a whopping 67% of Democrats. Now, a post that you made on X sounds like you might disagree with where Governor Newsom is on this. You've urged your party to get more in line with America, where they are on the issues. So what about this one?
Well, Shannon, you know I'm always a straight shooter, so I'll tell you where I stand. I know many of your viewers will disagree with it, but I was perplexed by the governor because he supported, Governor Newsom supported, along with Jerry Brown, a law in California in 2013 that's been on the books for 10 years. And that law says that trans kids do get to participate in sports, K through 12. And we have a California Intercollegiate Federation that sets the standards to balance the inclusion of trans kids with fairness and safety. And so I guess I didn't understand what the governor was saying. And for a decade, he's supported this law. It's still the law on the books. Is he saying we need to repeal that law? I believe that that law has worked in California, and I don't think there should be a federal ban. And we should have these state athletic associations like the California Intercollegiate Federation set the standards so that you balance inclusion with fairness and safety.
Now, again, they're willing to die on this hill, even though they know that it's wildly unpopular. Now, speaking of which, Stacey Abrams, she may have done something that's also pretty unpopular for some Democrats. She admits that she tried to buy votes with our taxpayer money.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct?
You have it absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm gonna ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line for the Republicans there. Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your cost. And in fact, we accomplished that. For 75% of the community, they got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what we delivered. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
There's just so much to unpack here, guys, but I want to stick to the numbers, all right? They were given almost $20 billion to buy appliances for a small town called DeSoto in Georgia. Now, after checking with Google, I found out that the population in this town, it's around 120. So $20 billion was needed to help 120 people? That doesn't sound right at all. Now, here's my question. Do you really think that it cost $20 billion to replace the appliances of 120 homes? I'm calling BS on that one. Now, we wouldn't have even known about this without the help of Elon Musk's Doge. Now, speaking of which, they continue to find wasteful spending that was left behind by the Biden-Harris administration, guys. And I covered this in great detail in a previous live stream. I urge you to check it out after this one. As always, thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time.